And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
And on to your aviation weather now. IFR concerns will start out Friday morning all the way from just south of the Bering Strait to St. Lawrence Island, Nunivak Island. South of that, a lot of that heavy cloud cover should break up at least a little bit, so marginal conditions are expected across a good part of the Aleutians and most of the Alaska Peninsula there, especially south and west of Sand Point. As you look out to the east, low pressure here across the southern Yukon and British Columbia will still be slopping over some of the very wet air, so we can expect IFR concerns maybe as far west as Mentasta Pass. But by and large, most of the interior, southwest, south central, Kodiak Island, all looks to be VFR. We may have some ice fog lingering here in the Yukon Valley, so watch out for that, but it looks to be a lot more isolated than what we're drawing on the map here. For many parts of southeast, watch for marginal concerns to start up your day. Chilkoot and White Pass may start at IFR, and of course, marginal conditions will extend out into the Gulf in the vicinity of low pressure. For Friday afternoon, the next front is working its way eastward, so we'll see IFR now stretching from the Chukchi Sea all the way through the Bering Strait and into the Yukon and Kuskokwim Delta, the Bristol Bay, and then south of the Alaska Peninsula. Out to the west, clearing takes place behind that a little bit, and some of the clouds will lift a little bit as well. So the result should be VFR conditions there for many out west, including St. Paul and St. George, and really most of the Aleutian Islands at this point. IFR concerns will pull a little bit further to the east there surrounding the low pressure system in the Yukon, so we'll get a little bit of improvement around Mentasta Pass. Maybe as bad as MVFR, but maybe as good as VFR by the end of the day. Look for continued improvement there across south central, southwest, and the interior, but again, hit and miss ice fog could still be an issue there up around the Yukon Flats. Southeast should see improvement. Marginal conditions push into the southern parts of the Dixon entrance and around Ketchikan, Annette, Craig, and KUAC. Elsewhere, things look to be pretty good. You'll see IFR setting back Saturday morning, though, just as fast. Northern passes look to be marginal at worst. Around Yakutat and Icy Cape, looking for IFR concerns there. The front moving in from the west will still bring IFR conditions through Nome, out to areas in the northern sections of the Yukon Delta, generally east of Hooper Bay at this point, down to Bethel, and then hit and miss marginal concerns across Bristol Bay and just south of Kodiak, a little bit of marginal around the Yukon Flats as well, probably due to ice fog. IFR is back across the west. You see another round of IFR building in across the western Bering. This is associated with a much larger low pressure system that could bring at least storm force winds now to the Aleutians for Saturday into Sunday, and maybe as strong as hurricane force winds, so stay tuned for that. IFR concerns will develop across the higher terrain and your northern passes and through the capital city and southeast for Saturday afternoon. Here are your pass conditions and details. We always show them to you there. Anaktuvik and Adigan Pass expected to be VFR. There could be some ice fog there south of the passes especially. Lake Clark and Merrill Pass all the way to Rainy Pass and Windy Pass look to be pretty good. VFR expected there. Isabel Pass, probably VFR, but Mentasta Pass, again, the eastern zones there, the eastern Alaska range, likely start out at least at IFR and maybe improve to at least marginal concerns as we get into the afternoon. That could get even better. Tanita Pass looks to be VFR and Portage Pass VFR. Chilkoot and White Pass, those start at IFR. And we're going to say improve all the way to VFR. Let's be optimistic for your Friday there. It looks like things should be getting better. As we get into Friday morning, freezing levels show that next wave of warmth trying to work its way into the southern Bering Sea. This one won't be as significant. What we see on Saturday and Sunday, though, expect a much bigger surge of warmer weather ahead of that stronger area of low pressure. The 2,000-foot freezing line hovering just offshore of Sitka down to Port Alexander and right along the coastline of Craig and KUAC. South Central, sub-freezing for Friday morning. It's going to be even colder on Saturday. Icing potential has levels generally above 1,000 to 2,000 feet across the west and southwest ahead of that front, and then below 6,000 feet because it gets cold again. So we've got kind of a warmer layer in there right now. Above 4,000 feet across areas in the north and western Gulf and the Pacific over Kodiak Island. And then, again, one of those warmer layers above 2 to about 6,000 feet across the Yukon and just north of the passes across the outer coast above 5,000 feet. All of that for isolated moderate icing potential. Jet stream has our trough of low pressure sitting across the Gulf and colder air spilling in from the north. The main jet stream coming in around 100 knots or so across the southern Bering Sea. So a lot of northerly winds working in. But you can see more of a westerly flow. That's that active pattern pushing another front in from the west. So winds are turning in from the south and east for southeastern Alaska. Westerlies moving across the interior and northwesterlies across the northern coast at 15 knots. At 3,000 feet, pretty similar pattern there. We've got a little bit more of a northerly push across the Arctic coast. Westerlies 35 to 50 across the southern Bering. Northwesterlies across Kodiak Island, Prince William Sound, and southeast anywhere from 5 to 30 knots. Here's your turbulence then. We're looking at Cook Inlet, parts of Bristol Bay, southwest, and the Bering Strait. generally considerable moderate, generally below 4,000 feet and some chopping southeast.